Good afternoon, plant fans. So I'm here today to tell you all about how to take leaf cuttings from this beautiful family of plants called Streptocarpus or Cape Primrose. Now these are part of the Gesneriad family, so that includes things like African violets, which you're probably very familiar with. And you can see they've got these lovely long sort of soft fuzzy leaves which are very similar to primroses, but they're actually not at all related. These beautiful flowering plants are native to various different parts of Africa. They do not like a lot of bright sun. They like a fairly bright position, but indirect light, as sunlight will scorch the leaves. Now these guys get really grumpy if they get overwatered, so you definitely want to wait until about the top inch of soil is dry before you water them again. They can also be a little bit prone to green fly, so if you start to see some of the leaves getting a bit distorted as they grow through, that might be something to check for. Also, if you see any yellowing leaves or you find they're starting to rot at the base, you're almost certainly overwatering it, so you probably want to cut back on your water until you start to see it look a bit better again. This little one was actually a gift from a customer. She bought it into me a few months ago because it was practically a bald stump. The leaves that it did had were really yellow and sickly looking. They were almost sort of half yellow and half green, where it was just giving up the will to live, basically. So she very kindly gave it to me to rehab it. And basically what's prompted me to do this video is I came in after the weekend and look at this beautiful flower. So just one for now. There's another little bud there. But I'm so pleased to see that, because hopefully it's a good sign that it's feeling much happier. So kind of a funny coincidence, as I was actually given this leaf cutting by a customer recently. I mentioned to her that I didn't have any Streptocarpus in my collection at home. And the next day she very kindly returned with this beautiful leaf cutting. So this could be a new experience for both of us. This is something I've never actually done before. I've certainly done similar sorts of cuttings with other types of indoor plants. So what I thought I'd do, because I've just got the one leaf, now that this plant is actually looking a little bit healthier, I'm going to take one of the leaves off here and propagate this one as well, because I honestly have no idea what colour this one is. The lady didn't tell me, so that's going to be a really nice surprise. So before we get on with preparing our leaf for our cuttings, just quickly show you the equipment I've got here. So I have got this clear box. Now these are prime real estate from our recycling bin. So I'm sure you're familiar with these. You can get them from the supermarket, often containing things like brownies or muffins, flapjacks, all our favourite things, and you get to buy cake, and then you get to do a good virtuous thing by reusing this plastic container and stopping it going to landfill. So buy cake. So got this tub, it's really good because it's got hinges. This one already has air holes in because I've actually already used this once for transporting my isopods around, so hence the air holes. So we've got some perlite, so we can create a drainage layer in the bottom of this. So we of course have our lovely leaf. We've got a pokey stick and a pair of scissors. We have got a business card. A ruler would do, but I couldn't find one. I'll show you what that's for in a minute. I also have my trusty watering can. I have my water sprayer. Not sure if I'm going to need that yet. And most importantly, I have got the soil which I'll be using to root, hopefully, these leaf cuttings in. So this is quite exciting for me because I've never done this before. I don't have any Streptocarpus plants at home. I just have this one. So the first thing we're going to do is open our box. If we can get it open, there we go. And then we're going to simply tip in some perlite. Don't breathe it in. I should be wearing a mask for this, but I'm naughty. Just get rid of that little cloud. So you've got a fairly generous layer of perlite at the bottom there, so that's going to be our drainage layer. Very good idea if you are taking cuttings that you're going to be watering several times during the rooting process. just so in case you overwater, your excess water will dribble down and sit in that drainage layer and not in the roots of your precious baby plants. So this is my soil. You can see there is a lot of perlite in this soil. As I say, I haven't rooted these before, but I have done other members of the Gesneriad family, and I know from experience that these soft fluffy leaves can be a little bit prone to rotting. So again, a lot of perlite in the mix. There's probably, I don't know, 30-40% in there, I would think. So we are just going to place some in our box. Probably going for about just over half full, I would imagine. So give it a little shake and a tap. Firm that down. So I would think it might be slightly full. I'll just take a bit out again. Right, we'll just give that a little firm down. I think that's probably about there. So you can see how full that is. So you obviously want to leave room for your leaves so nothing's going to get squished. Okay, so we've got our prepared tub of soil. Now mine, as you can see, is really, really dry. So I'm just going to give it a little damp down with my sprayer. We'll probably do this again after we've put the leaves in, I would imagine. There we go, to see how heavy that is. Yeah, that's got a good bit of weight to it now. So we'll just leave that a minute and let that all sink in. Okay, so that has all absorbed nicely into our soil. So we're going to get on with preparing our leaf cutting now. So we're going to try this in a couple of different ways. As I said, this is fun for me because this is all a new experiment because I have never propagated a Streptocarpus before. So we have got, you can see here, a nice mature leaf. Nice and green and thick and healthy. You always want to choose a really healthy mature leaf for this process to give yourself the best chance. So you can see that really thick midrib down the centre. So what we're actually going to do is cut the midrib out. So if I hold it up this way, so you need to get as close as you can to the midrib. This is called a lamina leaf cutting, by the way. Ooh, technical. So we're cutting up there as close as we possibly can. So there's one half, you can see. So we're going to do the same. It is easier from the back of the leaf, by the way, because you can get really close. So we're going to do the other side. This might seem quite strange. It is a little bit weird, but fun. And this is why I love doing this, because it makes me feel like a mad scientist. So we've got our other half there. So actually we don't need to keep the midrib, so we can get rid of that. So we have now got two halves of our original leaf. These little thin parts at the end will most likely dry out, so I'm just going to cut off the skinny bits there. Oh, I hate wasting plant material, sorry. So we'll get rid of that. And about there as well. So we've got a nice thick strip. Now mine's a bit curly, they aren't always. You could lay this in one piece, but I don't think mine will sit very well because it's a bit bendy. So I think I'm going to cut each of these into 3 sections. So we'll go there, and we'll go about there. And we're going to do the same here and here. So you can see with your cut sections, obviously you want to make sure you get these in the soil the right way up. So you've got your frilly edge of the leaf, and then you've got your cut edge there where you cut the midrib out. So you are going to place that down that way into your soil. This is the reason for your business card or ruler or credit card or whatever you have to hand. So we're going to make a little channel in the soil. So we're going to go and make a groove. So we can easily tuck in our leaf sections. So I'm going to do a couple, about 1 inch apart, I reckon. So making sure that they won't touch. So you can see there I have created 2 little channels there. So hopefully I should be able to now easily slot these in and tuck them in. Okay, so that's the first 3 in. So we will pop the next 3 in. Oh, I've messed up my channel a bit. So 1, 2 and 3. So those are now all snuggled in. Hopefully you can see that closely. On to the next part of the experiment. So you, as well as doing these longways lamina cuttings, you can also take leaf cuttings and divide them up and plant them in an upright fashion, very much like you would do with peperomia, begonia, African violets. Oh, there's probably loads. So that will be a very similar process if you've ever done anything like that. So even though this is not a big plant at the moment, it doesn't have a lot of leaves to take from, I really would like a fuller pot. So we're going to sacrifice 1 leaf for the greater good. So I'm just going to chop a leaf off now. So I think I'm going to choose this one because it's the biggest. So I'm going to go right down to the base and just being very careful not to snip that precious flower stem. Snip that off there. So that's done. Similarly to before, we're going to divide this one up, but we're actually going to do it in vertical sections this time. So I'm going to chop the bottom off first like that. And we'll tuck him in there. Nice easy petiole cutting. Hopefully that one will root successfully. So how big to cut these? You basically want to make sure you've got enough to tuck into your soil. So there's the next one. Take our card again. And we'll tuck him in. And I think, oh, can I get 2 or do you think I can push it and get 3? Do you know what? I'm going to try and overdo it. I always do. So I'm going to try and get 3 out of here because I'm greedy. So there we go. I'm just going to tuck those in there. Channel. And do make sure you keep them the right way up as well, because that does make a difference. So there we go. That is everyone all tucked in. So that is what we have there, all safe and tucked in. So I'm just going to give those an additional little spray. Not too much. And what I've also got here, you may have seen me use this in some of my other videos. This is a very weak hydrogen peroxide spray, which can just be useful as a safeguard against your nice cuttings rotting. Because obviously we've got a nice damp atmosphere in here. So I'm going to give those a good spray. You don't have to use this, it's just because I have it hanging around. So there we go. So we've got our cuttings all snuggled in there. The reasons we want to have a lid is a lot of the flowering house plants do like a bit of humidity to help them start rooting. Leaf cuttings, obviously, they can easily dry out because they can be quite thin, and obviously there's not much keeping them alive at the moment because we've chopped them all up into tiny bits. I'm going to leave those there. I'm going to put them somewhere with bright indirect light that's nice and warm. I'll check back with you when these have rooted and do an update video because I honestly have no idea how long they'll take, being inexperienced at this. If they're anything like begonia cuttings, I would expect them to start rooting probably in about 2 weeks maybe. So I will check back and we'll see how those have got on. Keep your fingers crossed for me. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you've learned something useful about how to propagate these stunning plants. They are so beautiful. The flowers come in loads of different colours. They're really blousy and colourful and I absolutely love them. If you love blues and purples and pinks, you're especially going to love the flowers. So I do recommend you look them up and find out a bit more about them. So thank you again for watching, and I will see you again soon, hopefully in 2 or maybe 4 weeks when these guys have rooted, and then we'll see how they're doing. Thanks again. Bye.